Come here. Welcome to the Famous Foxes Aftermath Show, live every Sunday on Leicester Fan TV. Come on, you Foxes. Good morning, Foxes. How the devil are you today? How's your weekend been so far? I hope it wasn't ruined by that Friday night disaster. But welcome to the original Sunday morning Leicester City football show, where you know what day it is. It's Sunday. It's 9:30 a.m. It's time for the Famous Foxes Aftermath show, run by us fans in here, for you fans out there. And you know what? Your opinion really matters. So get them comments in. Let's get going. It's kick-off time. Come on, you Foxes.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Foxes Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
Wow, I'm got bombarded with comments then straight away within the first 30 seconds of the show. Much appreciated. I'll try and get through them all. Yes, LCFC Grey, we are now 5 points. Will we make the difference up? I don't know. The big question is it time for Ruud to go or should he stay? The old saying, should he stay or should he go now? We'll be talking about that. I've got Reedy, I've got Kate with me as well. I'll just get through a few more comments before we come. Great. Morning, Jamie. How are you, pal? Yeah, how sharp was Friday night? Yes, very double. Morning, Chris. Hope you're well. Let's get your comments in, everyone. Morning, Andy. I hope you're well. Morning, Andrew. I hope you're well. Rude dudes are an embarrassment. Yes, they are at the minute. I think it was unacceptable. Sorry. Wayne. Yes. Morning, Jamie. Rubbish since Friday night. Andy Medhurst. Was Cuppa really the problem? We shall talk about that as we go along. Morning, Anthony. Morning, Tony. How are you? Yes, we are going to hear. So, are we going to hear the usual performance has been there, or just made mistakes? A bit of both, actually, Tom. But I think it's a bit more the performance as well. I'm going to bring Kate in off her Holly Bobs. She's seen the last 2 games and not seen a lot of interest after she's been on a Holly Bobs. How are you, Kate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
So we'll forget the Arsenal game because I think you fell asleep through that one. We'll just talk about the Brentford game and how are you going into the game? Were you thinking, "Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I'm up for this. I hope the players are." What were your thoughts?
I was quietly optimistic that we could get some kind of result because we've not even had that many draws, have we, to kind of keep the points ticking along, which is really concerning as well. So I just thought mid-table team, Brentford haven't been in that much form. And yeah, you go in with hope and optimism as a football fan, don't you? Because you want your club to do well. It might be a completely emotive feeling, but you want your club to do well. And that's where I kind of stood. And I thought if we can just get the first goal, which seems so difficult for us for some reason, then we might be in with a chance. And, you know, we started so brightly those first 10 or 15 minutes. I thought we really, bit the bullet and grabbed the ball by the horns a little bit. And then it almost felt like with the first sign of Brentford attack, we went back into old habits. And I've not just felt that under Ruud. I've not just felt that this season. I felt that a lot. I felt that under Brendan, that there's a staleness about the team, that some old habits are so deep rooted in how we play that we can't seem to get ourselves out of it. And yeah, so after whenever they scored 17 minutes, that hope completely dissipated. Because when we go 1-0 down, I know we're done for.
It seemed and I'm going to use your comments. I heard what you said to Pipes the other night, a very lacklustre performance. After that, like you say, the first 15 minutes seemed great. And I thought, oh, we look up for it. And then as soon as they scored, it just went. And then the performance, like you said, very lacklustre performance. It just died. And I think we're expecting as fans, once that first goal goes in, that's it, game over. Because as soon as they scored, I thought to myself, we're going to struggle here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lacklustre performance. I felt like, I even said the other day as well, I think it was unprofessional for me. I felt like after the first goal went in, it was tools down, accepting our fate. And that isn't what you are as a professional athlete. I did sport to a quite high level and I never felt like that. Like, it's not over till it's over. And defensively, particularly, I felt there was just a lack of commitment. You know, I know we don't encourage the Roy Keane style play anymore, but that's sort of, I'm going to beat my man, whether we're 3-0 down in the 90th minute or 3-0 up in the 90th minute. I'm going to hammer in. I'm going to get that ball. I'm going to win the throw-in. I'm going to do everything I can because I'm not letting this guy beat me. And I felt like there's that lack of competitive edge, that, you know, that real determination to just beat your man.
Yeah. You were saying about how you were playing like sports to a high level. Me and Mr. 60 to Craig Hendry played for different cricket teams, but whenever we played Kirby versus Barby, there was always an edge. It was like amateurs turning up. Well, we weren't even amateurs, we were less than amateurs, but we wanted to win. Every time we wanted to win, even though Craig used to hit sixes for fun, and I didn't used to enjoy that. But there used to be a bit of competitiveness from it, but there just isn't that in any of the sport, any of the Leicester's games. I don't know. It's probably not just this year. It was probably under Brendan Rodgers and a bit under Dean Smith. Last year in the Championship, we sort of steamrolled that, didn't we? There wasn't that. We were winning quite easily, so we didn't have to be that competitive, did we, last year? And it just seems to have completely gone out of the game totally now.
Yeah, the concern for probably lots of fans is that you've gone from poor performances to an attitude question mark and a standard question mark and then a culture question mark. And that's where I've moved to. I'm like, is there a culture? And I know we talk about the move to Seagrave perhaps being one of the catalysts, that there's this sort of Rolls-Royce type complex that they train in every day. But I'm starting to worry that it's not just bad performances or bad days or a couple of the team members. I'm starting to feel there's a culture and an acceptance that, oh, well, I'm not probably going to play for Leicester next season anyway, like Ruud, for example. I question that guy's commitment. So whether he's, you know, Beckenbauer at the back or whoever, he shouldn't be playing if you're not committed to this football club. You know, we had that with Sunju. Brendan did it with Sunju and played Daniel Amati. Again, completely ridiculous. But with Fass, he's not good enough anyway. So it's breeding a culture for me and a standard which have seen our standards slip. And you can't allow that in the Premier League because 1% is the difference, isn't it? For a lot of these results, there's a 1% difference. And that's such a big void in the Premier League when you get up here.
It's actually showed, you're saying that 1% and that, them silly little mistakes have cost us every single time. I hate to say it, but performances have been good. I'm a results-based man, to be honest. I'd rather get the result. I'd rather have a crappy game and someone score in the last minute off his backside to win 1-0 than have a decent performance and lose. I'd much rather get that win. Results are all, especially in this situation we are now, we definitely 100% we need results. These last 12 games, we're in a worse position than we were in the Great Escape season. At least we stood a chance in the Great Escape season. It felt like we had a chance, but now it doesn't feel like we're going to score goals and it feels like we're going to concede goals, doesn't it, Kate? Yeah,
absolutely. And I feel like Ruud, for me, I was quite disappointed to not even get a goal on Friday night, because if I was Ruud, I wouldn't want that record as a manager. That record that was hanging over us that we now hold, that horrible, unwanted 6 home games without a goal record, I would not want to be that manager. Like, he didn't even play 2 up top like he resorted to against Arsenal. He didn't even bring Daka on. I feel like there's question marks over Ruud, and I don't know whether he's sulking or whether it's just bigger than him, whether he's not got the temperament and skill set that's needed for this type of relegation battle. I don't know. But yeah, the performances have been good in part, but we still haven't scored. We didn't score against Arsenal. You know, we had an amazing opportunity, obviously, with Bobby Dickord over Reed, and the defender got in the way, which was unlucky.
He literally fell over and touched it, didn't he?
Yeah, but we don't flood our box, do we? So that's a chance, and you think, yeah, great chance. But you need about 5 of them in perhaps a game to score one. Like, we don't flood the box enough. We don't look like we're interested in creating chances. So if you're not interested in scoring and don't, it's almost a repeat of the season in the early 2000s when we got relegated. If you don't score, it doesn't matter how many you can see, because you're not going to win if you can't score. So I'd love a Kevin Keegan mentality. If you're going to ship 2 or 3, just try and get 4. That's what.
So when Claudio was here, we kept conceding goals, but we kept scoring more goals than the opposition, and that's what we need to do. And we don't even look like we're going to do that even now. I'm going to bring Reed in on this point. Morning, Reedy. How are you, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. just I'm still trying to think of what to say, mate, because Friday night really does change people's mentality. Because like you know me, I was always trying to back Ruud and say about performances being decent at times, and we should be getting more points than we probably should have. But now it's got to the point where it's dawned on me that I felt that Ruud was doing enough to keep us up, and the fact of he was doing what he needed to do. But I think the quality of the players just isn't there anymore. I just don't think they're good enough to handle what Ruud needs them to do. Because you can see at times where, because like I think someone mentioned before, that when we play against the bigger teams, because there's not as much pressure to win the game, we perform better, and we seem to have a bit of an easier game where we can actually do what we need to do. Whereas when you're playing against a team that you have to get a result against, you got the pressure on you, and it just makes you play worse.
Yeah. Go on, Kate. We're going to say something to Reed about Reedy's point then. No, okay. I thought you were just, it looked like you were about to say to me. I was going to say.
I was looking at the comments. I was reading the comments.
What Ben was saying here, you don't appoint a nobody in management terms for a relegation fight. And that sort of leads on to my point. Are these players that bad, Kate, or is it the manager that can't get a tune out of them? Could a different manager be reading off the same script, or is that the problem? Are the players as bad as what people are making out?
Yeah, I think the players are as bad as the fans are making out. This is a repeat after repeat thing that's happening with some of these players in the squad where they're just not behaving like they should. Like, I know we've begged for Wilf to come back because he's provided that reinforcement, and I was quite surprised what a hole it left when he was injured for so long, actually. But still, he's not the Wilf we know, is he? He's not the same Wilf as back 5 years ago, and he's not that old. He's not 30 yet. So I think the players have a lot to answer for, and I do think it's this cultural issue where they're not as committed. And that Great Escape season, we had that in abundance, and it does get you points. If you've not got the quality there, you know, we had Paul Konchesky, for God's sake. It doesn't matter, you know, if you've got 100% effort every single game and you just have that commitment, the chances are that the turn in the tides will happen for you. But I don't see that sort of perseverance from this team at the minute. With Ruud's appointment, you know, we were all a bit, it's exciting because of his experience as a player, but also, I'm not sure how it's going to go. But then, you know, we had an experienced manager in Cuppa who's supposed to be this football man who's got a team promoted before, who kept them from relegation, and he didn't do great either. I think what's needed is a strong personality, because these guys know football. Like, God, Ruud's played at the very top of his game. He will have seen some of the most iconic managers manage teams and take so much from that. It's a cultural thing, and whether you've got the balls and personality to come in and say, you ain't good enough, so you're not getting a sniff until you pull your socks up. It's having the balls to do that, I think, and just being a bit cold, a bit heartless. Yeah, a bit, even Alex Ferguson hairdryer treatment, like whatever it takes. I feel there's a softness about how we go about, you know, talking about bad performances as managers. Whether that's a new Generation Z thing, I don't know, but it doesn't work.
Don't get me on the Gen Z and millennials, Kate. Don't get me on that, please. There's no such thing as managers at a teacup throw or hairdryers anymore. It's not allowed anymore, is it? You can't do that. You can't upset one person. But that's the kind of thing we need. Would have never seen this under, say, Nigel Pearson. Nigel Pearson would have taken them by the scruff of the throat, and they would have been playing. Like saying the Great Escape, that was all down to Nigel Pearson. He took all the pressure off the players. He never threw them under the bus. And it never looked like it. But this time, like it's saying, we keep seeming to be going over the same thing over and over again. There's just no leadership. There's no pride. Is the Reedy? Oh, he's gone now. There's no pride. There's no passion. It's just gone, hasn't it? Completely gone. There's no get up and go has gone, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know if you listened to Pipes post-match on the radio, and that was such a good section that he spoke about. He spoke about the pride of wearing the shirt. Like, I left as the whistle blew, so I just got out straight away. But, you know, hearing that only Vardy, Christensen and Cody were the ones on the pitch and the rest bailed down the tunnel, like, who do you think you are? Like, we've paid to see this. The majority of fans surprisingly did stay. I'd say 2/3 stayed in the ground. And I don't think it was a clapping off thing at all. I think a lot stayed to just see what was going on. And only 3 players hung back. And even Ruud went straight down the tunnel, shook the left hand and went straight down the tunnel. That's unacceptable. You come out and you face the music and you put your big boy pants on. You've done this. You've, been partly responsible for the collective result. And I just feel there needs to be some, hard truths said to these players, really. I don't think we're utilising some of the leaders, like we've got Cody. Vardy's a leader to a degree, but I don't think he does enough on the pitch because of where he plays. But off the pitch, I'm sure he is. But we don't have enough, there's not enough going on the pitch in terms of bollocking players. And, I think I saw Harry Winks tear into Fatawu last season once, and Mavadidi. And that was about it. I think Winks can be quite vocal. Cody, I know can, because I can hear him from where I sit sometimes shout. Outside of that, there's no one being held accountable on the pitch. Like Gary Neville often used to speak about making a mistake on the pitch. He was more scared because Roy Keane was there to tell him rather than facing Alex at half time. He didn't want to mess about with Roy. And I know we speak about these iconic players, but that's the demonstration of what the culture is, isn't it? And the behaviour. And that's what breeds the standards ultimately. And we just haven't got that.
I mean, we had Ali Moughlan on Phil's show on Monday night, and I used to love Ali Moughlan. And Phil asked him, how long would you last this year? And he said probably about 10 minutes, the way I used to play, if he was in the Premier League now. You just don't, there's nothing like that anymore. That's the thing we need. To get the game going, we need to get a tackle or a Vardy sprint and he blocks the keeper. You need something for the crowd to get behind. But it just is. I'm not blaming the crowd at all. I'm blaming the players and the manager for not giving us enough to get behind it. And I think it resonates the whole thing. It's like a big package, isn't it? That one helps the other. The players help the crowd help the players. But there needs to be a bit of a 50-50 mashup of both of them to get them going. I've just seen Jason's comment. Would you want to be managing next year?
I'd tell them for sure, but I'd just get sacked like the next day.
I think, to be honest, Kate, I think, let's just read his nick back now. I think we need to get some fans in there to tell the truth, because you've seen around the world, some of the players have gone up to the fans, and the fans have actually told them, they had at the end of the game, they've had a meeting with them, and telling them, and the players are just sitting there, standing there listening. The fans need to have some way of getting the point of view over a bit more than these protests. I don't think protests is another thing, but these protests don't really work, and they need to get the point of view over to the players so they know how us fans really feel.
Yeah, I mean, when we went, was it 2-0 or 3-0 down, the boos around the ground were pretty loud to hear, to be honest, and it's not nice. And as a player, you don't go out intentionally to play poorly, but the commitment and the determination to change the tide just isn't there. And I felt it was there in the 15-16 season. And that might be because we were under a different manager. It might be because we had people like Wes and Hoos in the team that were just controlling it on the pitch a bit more. They're not the best defenders in the world, but they could bring a performance out on the pitch. And it's just really disappointing. But in terms of whether or not we should have had Ruud, we just don't know what else was on the table. I think other managers might have applied, but I just feel with football these days, I don't know about you, it feels like a bit IKEA flat pack furniture. You might get a different name, but it's the same kind of thing. You're like playing out from the back. Pep lives in everybody's heads. Unpopular opinion, but I think Pep's ruined football. I saw Preston North End mess up the other day playing out from the back. Preston North End. Like an absolute joke. What are you doing? So what you want, you're paying these managers upwards of £5 million a year. I don't want IKEA flat pack Pep star, mate. I want to know what you can do with our team. And we never pass through the middle anymore for Vardy to hang on the offside and make the run. We don't really use our wingers pace enough because we don't actually put them on the pitch, like no Mavadidi and having Jordan. So play to your strengths, because if you don't, you're screwed.
Yeah, I was out on a 50th wedding anniversary last night. I went for a Chinese, and I ended up sitting next to my mate who's he's a Hib supporter, and we were talking about football, and we were talking about how the style of football has changed, how it's not, how the old-fashioned centre halves, all they used to do was head it and kick it away. The fullbacks used to stop crosses coming in and kick it away. The wingers used to hit that byline, hit the touchline, go down the touchline, cross it in. We don't see any of that anymore, do we? It's really, I mean, you're probably not old enough to know about old-fashioned football. You were part of the millennials, aren't you, really? So you've only seen this style of football. I mean, what's it like to you? I mean, you like the Pep style of football, don't you, Reedy? And is this, to me, I find football boring now. I know I'm a lot older than you, Reedy, but I find football boring now.
Yeah, you're right in saying that. I do prefer that sort of possession style of play, because I think it just works more now for a lot of teams. But when it comes to the likes of relegation teams or teams who have just come up, like Southampton this season, where When they had Russell Martin, they just couldn't get a win anywhere with the way they were playing. The people were saying, they're playing well, but they're just not getting performances. And now it's the same for us. Like, don't get me wrong, I felt that Cooper football didn't have like a system or a style, which I think most people in the comments or in the fan base kind of said. But I don't know because like the Cooper system, he wasn't playing the players he had available. He had Fatu, he had Pereira, he had all of his players fit, and he didn't really play them. He played Ndidi in the 10 role. But now when Ruud came in the first 2 games, I thought you could see some completely different changing, and you could see a set style of play. Like when Enzo came in, even from the first game against Northampton, you could see how he wanted to play. But I think the issue is, like I said earlier, the issue is now the players just ain't good enough, and they just can't get in there. But I don't know. I said on my video that we posted yesterday that I do feel like, as much as I think Ruud could have been good for the long term, we don't need long term right now. We need to make sure we stay up in this league. And because we did have first choice before in who we wanted to go for, if we got rid of Ruud now, who is available? I think the only one I can probably name right now is Sean Dyche. And to be honest, it might be the best possible solution right now.
What are you thinking, Kate? I don't know which side of the fence you are. Are you on the fence with Ruud, or do you think we should change? Or I don't know. How are you feeling about the manager situation? Is it time for a change, or do you think we should persevere and wait till the summer to see what happens?
I mean, I'm on the fence in terms of, do you roll the dice or do you not? Because it's costly. We've got a PSI issue hanging over our heads, which I think we should have just ignored, by the way, and spent a load in January and deal with it later like Forest did. They've done all right with it, haven't they? But in terms of whether or not we should chop and change, it's always a roll of the dice. But what I would say is I'm way more Ruud out than I ever was Cooper out. Because Ruud, after his interview on Friday as well, I was really disappointed hearing that. He's basically given up. That was a throw the towel in interview. And I know you're emotional after a match and your emotions are quite raw, and he'll be more disappointed than anybody, that's not what you want to have on your CV, is it? But at the same time, just basically saying, yeah, well, we've not got enough quality and that's the end of it, and every game's too difficult for us. And that's not the attitude. Like, that's not what Ipswich are going in doing all the time, and they're in a similar position to us. And yeah, so I'm more Ruud out than I was Cooper, because I'm not seeing with Ruud, it's the goals for me. If you're not scoring, and we've got enough there to score, we really scored.
Do you think as well? Go on, Jamie, go on.
I was going to say, to Kate's point, we've only scored 9 goals in his 13 games. Under Cooper, we scored 16 goals.
Yeah.
But maybe 32 under Ruud as well.
I think there is many factors to wonder why, to question Ruud now, and the fact of like Kate says earlier, you've not got the wingers on the wings. You've got Bobby Reid and AU, and as much as we know that at times they do okay, like Spurs away, Bobby Reid got 2 assists, so fair enough to start again. But when you've got the quality of Mavididi at times, I know he's not good, like people can say he's not done at all anything really this season, but just the quality he can bring and could bring is completely 10 times better than what Bobby Reid normally does. So that is Ruud's fault, and that is something to blame him for. But I see why people say we've got to start Ayew and Bobby Reid because of defensive cover. But then that completely lacks in the attack, because then all you've got really up front is Vardy and El Khanous, and then what are you going to do with that? You're not going to do anything. So that's one big reason why we've not scored in the last 9 games in a row. But it's just difficult, because realistically, that if you don't want to start with them two, you're going to start Mavididi and either McAteer or someone like that. And are they even got that good of quality? I don't know.
You're talking about McAteer there. Kate, we turned down 10 million for him on deadline day, or whatever it was, and he can't even get in the squad. He can't even get in the match day squad. But we turned down 10 million for him, and he's not even on the bench.
Yeah, I'd like to see more McAteer. I quite like McAteer. I know he's not quite there, but how are you going to be if you don't get given a consecutive run of games, really? And I like his commitment. I think he's got quite a lot of pace. And he can threaten. He just asks a question. Like, we don't ask enough questions of defensive. We don't do balls over the top. We don't take on people. We just pass it around the back. We're passing it around the back. Like seeing Mads Hermansen with his foot on the ball at 80 minutes. I am like, what the hell is going on here, mate? What the hell is going on here? Yeah. Like looking for the killer pass. Mate, you're 4-0 down. What are you doing? The game's killed anyway. You've killed it. But what I would say with Reedy's point, like that's the thing I think people get frustrated with Ruud, is that with Jordan and Bobby de Cordova providing defensive cover, well, we're shipping 2 or 3, mate. So give up the ghost. Like, what provides no cover. I'd rather have more chance of attacking and scoring, because you know what, Ruud, that's kind of how you win a football match. And just sack off this theory that they give you this elusive defensive cover when they don't. Jordan wins a foul. He wins a foul. That's his defensive cover, because he looks 78 years old.
It's a double-edged sword, though, because if you put Mavididi, Buonanotte and El Canus, all the people that we know that are the most creative in the team, and then you still concede goals, but you don't score. In the fact of, like, remember earlier this season when we played Buonanotte on the wing with Justin behind him, it would look like we were always getting caught out on the wing down that side. So it's hard, but again, now I've got to admit, you just got to go shit or bust. You've got to put all 3 of them up front.
Really, are you reading my mind? Because I was just about to say exactly.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You've just got to put your best team out there now. It doesn't matter about defensive cover. You've got to go score goals. If you don't score goals, like Kate said, you're going to lose the game either way. So you've got to go for the goals, even if it's a 5-4 win. You've got to go for it. You've got to try and get more goals in you playing.
The West Ham game was counter-attacking football, and look what happened. So where's that gone? Where's that gone? That worked that worked like a charm. Like, why haven't we done that ever since?
Yeah, I know. Even the Brighton game, to an extent, was very similar, wasn't it? Even though we were 2-0 down, we played an attractive style of football. And I saw I was at the West Ham game, I was at the Brighton game, and I thought, oh, this isn't bad. Ruud's going to probably prove me wrong. And then everything seemed to change after that. The style of it just stopped. And I'm hoping, because I'm back for the Man U game, I'm hoping it changes again. We see that kind of style. So even Spurs as well. That was a decent type. That was more of an counter-attacking type of football. And it just amazes me. We're lacking. I know we're conceding goals, but we're lacking goals up top. You've got Edouard on 90 grand. I know he might be a bag of spanners. We don't know how good he's going to be. If he doesn't get minutes, we don't know. You've got Patson Daka, Reedy's love dad, that he actually loves him. Give him a go. What worse can they do? We haven't scored at home for 6 games, Kate. What worse can they do than trying to play Edouard or Patson Daka up top?
But with Vardy's legs have clearly gone a bit. He's lost a good yard, hasn't he, in that sort of early 6 or 7 yard sprint. Excuse me. But with Edouard, just put him on as well, or Daka, but I think Daka's proven and they're not proven. But with Edouard, just put a cat amongst the pigeons. Let him do Vardy's running. And there's an extra person for the defence to think about. We're just not challenging the defences enough. Like, you see the defence, the ball comes to them, they can just play it back out without even a challenge. We're nowhere near second balls ever. But that's been a long thing as well. And I think that's fitness related. Like, the press and the second balls are fitness related. And Dean Smith said when he came in, he could not believe the terrible level of fitness amongst the team.
Yeah.
Again, that's culture and standards. You're not working hard. You're not working them hard enough.
We never seem to get that second ball, do we? We always seem to lose out on that second ball. We've got Sumeri and then Didi that should be winning that second ball, but they seem to be standing off and not attempting to go and not putting a press on. Even getting half a tackling would be, but they're just standing off. And it's, I don't know.
You used to see, like, Wilf's leg just come and take the ball like a hungry hippo.
It was like, well, I'd say a lot. Go gadget legs.
You used to see it, like, oh my God, he's beating him, Wilf's not getting back. And then all of a sudden the leg would come in, he'd get the ball and he'd turn it over. We just don't see that anymore either.
No, we don't. I mean, we've been blaming I was going to say fans, we can't blame the fans, the players and the manager. But do you think there's a lack of leadership at the club from not just top himself, but from the very top to the bottom, which has been a bit of a downward spiral since the FA Cup? We haven't really pushed on since we've won the FA Cup, have we really? And I'm not sure whether the board are losing interest, whether Susan Whelan, John Rudkin, I just don't know whether that is the people to blame, or I just don't know who to put. Can you point a finger, Reedy, at who is to blame?
There's too many areas to blame. I think there's one big reason it all started, and that was when we let Casper go. Like, that for me was one of the biggest, like, how can you do that? He was about to approach 150 games for Leicester or I think performances in a row. Sorry,
it was 149
games in a row. Yes, against Watford, and he got dropped. And I know that wasn't the case. He left. I'm pretty sure of that, but I think there's just so many reasons to why we are here now. Like the signings of Skip. Like as much as we could have thought he was a decent player when he first joined, £25 million for a player who's barely seen a team, for me, is ridiculous, and that's why we could only spend £3 million in January. It's just there's so many reasons towards it. It doesn't help that we have had injuries, and people say everyone's got injuries in the Premier League, but when you lose 3 or 4 of your 5 best players for the team in Fatawu, Ndidi, and Mads, you always got a question. And Ricardo, you've got a big question to ask, and it's just hard because, like I say, Cooper had all them players and he didn't really play him in the way he wanted to. You got Ruud, who's got the players that could do more, and he's still playing Bobby Reed and AU, which means for me you can't even counter attack with that. So there's so many issues, and I see the point of this whole protest in a way of just speak your voice and you hopefully get heard. But I don't think if you got rid of Rudkin today or whoever it is, it won't change anything in the next 12 games. Like it could impact things in the next couple of years because. But by then, depending on what happens, we could be in League One because of like.
Really, don't say that.
No, I'm just saying like the fact of we've had Rudkin in, and realistically over that's 10 years we've won more, and we've won basically everything you wanted to under his on all of his board stuff. And now if you get rid of him in the next couple of years, it could just keep going downhill. Like I'm not saying it's going uphill. I'm just saying that there's things happen for a reason, and doing that now, if the case was to happen, or to get rid of Ruud, I don't know who is to blame. There's so many things going wrong.
Really talked pretty well there about Rudkin and stuff like that, but we've sort of changed the way we work our transfers, haven't we? Because we used to sell one big one for 50, 60 million, and then get a couple in that were like 25, 30 million. But now all of a sudden, well, apart from Skip, of course, but now all of a sudden we're getting rejects from like Palace, Fulham, even Skip. Skip wasn't getting in. We're looking at rejects that can't get into the team. Why do you think we've changed the way we're working? Surely it can't be just because of PSR. Because I saw yesterday, I think it was wages was 52 million, and that was we were 14th highest in the Premier League. I think it was 52 million. Why we change the way we work with transfers? Why go from how we were doing it and doing so well that clubs like Palace, Fulham and Brentford looked up to us. Now we're looking up at them thinking, oh, how do we get back to that kind of situation we were in? They've just seemed to have done a complete 180 with the way we're working behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think the issue is, and it would have happened under Bishar, the issue with having the methodology of having one big sale a summer is, what if you get a Yuri Tielemans who refuses to move? That's your prize asset, and he just waits for the Bosman. Like, what choice have you got? Now, I've read numerous books about sports people and stuff, and they've all said, well, I've been told I've got to move on, and I've got no choice, I've got to move on. I don't think it works like that today, particularly with Premier League players. Yuri would not move, and if you put all your eggs in one basket, it leaves that method really, really vulnerable if it doesn't work. Coupled with the fact, it was a bit of a perfect storm, coupled with the fact then that out of nowhere we got relegated. When you think of those players now, I'd love to have that team back, even though they got relegated. I'd love to have that team back. Like, how on earth has that team got relegated? And that, for me, a lot of that stuck with Brendan. I think he sulked. I think he fancied himself, Gucci belt, throws his toys at and he just, he'd lost interest. He got his trophy and he'd lost interest. So what needs to happen, and it's the same with any business, you constantly have to look at the detail and constantly have to look at ways to find new ways of operating and better ways, or ways to engineer what you need to happen, i.e. we needed a big influx of money. If Yuri's not going to move, or if X, Y and Z aren't going to move, then how do we pull the strings in that regard? We can't spend as much. So it all went wrong, and I think it does come from a move to Seagrave. I think it comes from the collective of the board, and I think it comes from some of the managers we've picked fancying themselves a bit more, and the players as well. So it's a collective. It's hard to pinpoint one person, because like Reedy says, you change any one of those things. We changed manager, didn't work. If we get rid of director of football, it won't make any difference. Like Manchester United change directors of football quite regularly, and look where they are. They're making 200 or 300 people redundant this year.
Oh,
like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're made people redundant because they've not made Europe, and they've got a massive budget to go out the window. So, you know, director of football doesn't have this amazing magic crystal ball that everybody thinks they do. He has responsibility, but the scouts haven't been up there. You know, we lost Steve Walsh, didn't we? We lost Dave Rennie. Like, there's loads of things that have happened that created the magical journey, and those sparks have gone out and they've just not been replaced. You know, it would have been great to have the likes of Wes Morgan somewhere in the club and Mark Albrighton somewhere in the club. And you know, what's happened there, I just think we took our eye off the ball, and I think it was because we thought we'd made it. Yeah. Having the top 8 finish a couple of times, just missing out on Champions League, having the Seagrave, you think, oh, well, we'll get there at some point again next season. But you know what? You got relegated. Yeah. And now you're left with egg on your face because you've took your eye off the ball. And it will take 3 years to wash out because PSR is a 3-year thing. But I don't like how timid Top appears with PSR. It's great that he got it overturned. It's great that he hired Nick DeMarco. But PSR is there to scare clubs like Leicester. And I was
just going to say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, just blow the budget in January, spend money, keep us up and deal with it later. Because the rules are being changed anyway in the summer.
Like you said, it worked for Notts Forest, didn't it? They had 40-odd people. Oh, no. Yeah, bought was it 40 in 2 transfer windows?
I think it was 30.
Well, whatever. They bought that many. They stayed up. And look at them now. The players that Steve Cooper bought are now performing for another manager.
Yeah.
So it does work.
It's a risk assessment, isn't it? It's a risk assessment. The risk is we could get done with PSR, but the counter to that is you could get relegated. And we don't know what the future holds there. We don't know whether we'll come back up. Whether
it could be another Luton.
You could do a Luton. You could do a Forest. You could stay there for 25 years. It's not out of the question. So you've got to risk assess it all the time. It's a risk assessment. And the risk for me is we want to get, like Rudy said, just get through this season because that's the bad PSR year that's going to drop off after this season. That 92 million quid drops off after this year. So if we can get through this season and still be in the league, that should have just been do whatever it takes to do that and deal with it later.
Yeah, Chris, I can't actually explain the rules because it's a little bit over my head, but I did a show with Dr. Dan Plumley, who's financial director at Sheffield Hallam University. Have a listen to that, pal, and about halfway through he tells you what the new rules are. It's easier for him to explain it than me. So go on to Leicester Fan TV and look for the show against Peter, and he explains it. He explains it in English instead of all these technical terms, which I sort of understood. It was easy for me to understand that was. Before we go, we've got to talk about the West Ham game, and it's a tough one, isn't it, Reedy? What's it going to be like going there? It's going to be awful, isn't it? If the team news comes out and you're there, and that same team comes out, he has to change it, Reedy. Surely.
We don't know. It's Ruud. We've been saying, even Phil's been saying the last.
It's the modern manager.
It is. Every last couple of weeks, I always say, if you don't change anything, what is going to change in the result? And I want to be hopeful and say he's going to put Buonanotte and Mavididi on the wings. But then again, what are they going to do? That is the issue. The quality just isn't there anymore for us. It is difficult. They just beat Arsenal. Like Nick said, they just beat Arsenal. It is difficult, and it just showed you when you played against Brentford and Buonanotte came on for Ayew, you could hear the cheers. That's how mental we were wanting, and it just showed you when Buonanotte came on. As much as we know at times he loses the ball, he progresses up the pitch. You've got to change something. You've got to change something. And if he doesn't, that is me dumb. If he doesn't change it, and he puts Bobby Reed on the wings again. I'm sorry, he has to go definitely.
When Buonanotte came on, Kate, that on the TV, it was the biggest cheer of the whole game. And every time he touched the ball, and he had that shot that hit the stanchion at the back that was about 2-3 yards wide. And everyone cheered like it was a goal because it was Buonanotte. But you wouldn't have seen this unless you watched it on TV. You could hear the cheers, and Ayew was like, oh, what? It was looking like, what's going on here? And a bit of a smirk on his face. That I think he thought it was for him. I'm not sure what he thought, but he looked, and it was like, and he realised it wasn't. And he thought, oh, what's going on here then?
Yeah, I think he thought that maybe the fans wanted him off, and that wasn't quite. That's the wrong way of looking at it. They wanted Buonanotte on. That was what they wanted. That's what got the cheer. It wasn't like, oh yeah, the rubbish one's gone off, because I don't think fans think that way particularly about Jordan at all. I think he's useful in the right areas. I think he's got a wisdom that a lot of the youngsters don't have. The same with Vardy. He's just a seasoned pro, and you can tell at times. But the cheer was the fact that, oh my God, at whatever minute it was, we finally got someone on that can try and score a goal. That was the cheer, and it was the biggest cheer of the night, comfortably so, actually. And he came on and almost put a man of the match performance in. He was chomping at the bit. I get why he's not reliable. I don't think he follows instructions very well. If you tell him to back off, he won't. He tries to dribble out of his own area. He's really greedy. He loses it in the middle of the park. I get it. And there's a reason
that hunger.
You need that hunger. And there's a reason why Brighton don't want him. But try and do a bit of hardball with him, Ruud, like this youth manager that, a lot of these managers claim to be, and just try and score some goals, for goodness sake.
I'm going to nick this off Piper again. I keep nicking all this stuff. The exuberance of youth. That's what he said about Bowen Naughty, didn't I? Got to stop nicking his word.
He said like the old hat, like Vardy and others, will feel better with having that kind of player on, because it gives them energy. That the energy transfer is massive. It's an energising thing to have the youth on the pitch, because Vardy's not got it in him anymore to run 90 minutes chasing the defenders down. We've not seen that for a good few years, but having the energy of youth, like Bilal, look at Bilal, man, his work rate. If everybody had the work rate of Bilal, we wouldn't be in this bother. But yeah, the exuberance of youth and the energy that they give you, and the fearless, blind faith that they have, because they just want to play football. And I'd love to see some youth coming from the academy. Ruud talks about this as well, and that's not come to fruition yet, has it?
No, because he said the cup game against Man U, even though we were cheated out of it, he said he was going to have Evans and Monga on the bench. In his pre-match interview, he said he's got Evans, and Evans wasn't on there, and Monga was, and Monga never got a chance of playing. And it's like, why put him on there, or why say that and not do it? It's just, it's actually madness.
Even if it doesn't work, you've tried. Just try it.
Like Phil keeps saying, and there's a comment there, he's put play 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, however you want to call it. At least he's tried something different. At least
I've said that, yeah. I think if Ruud changes things up against West Ham and the rest of the season, as much as I still don't think, like I said, long-term wise, I think he'll be decent, but we don't need long-term right now. And if he does try and change something and it still doesn't work, I'd say fair enough. But right now, because we know how stubborn he is, like Enzo was, if he doesn't change something, it's just going to repeat and repeat and repeat. He's got to change something. He's got to change the players. He's got Koulibaly in there now, which, again, I will mention. I think he did have a decent game until we did concede, which I know was only like 20 minutes, but he did do well, but everyone's heads dropped at that point. So he has got players to change. As much as we know at times they're not the best quality, you've got to put them on. You've got to go all out. You've got to change something up. Do you change the back line? I don't know, because I don't think anyone. I say Okoli's probably the only one that I think has to be in there. Other than that,
even Okoli didn't have the best of games. I think all 4 goals were literally
no one's had a good game. Who else you put in?
Ball watching, especially that first goal. We haven't talked anything about the game.
Do you put Vestergaard in and Cody in?
No,
I don't. You know what I mean? You've got no other choice then. You've got no other choice.
I think Phil's just said in the comments about Luke Thomas. I mean, VK had an absolute stinker. I know Wister's really good. He's a handful, but I just feel like sometimes Luke Thomas is the better positional defender.
He's done well the last 2 games he's played. So.
He really has, actually, yeah. So, again, like, VK, I know VK's energy. VK's got a lot of energy, and I never actually question his effort because he runs until the final whistle. But I just don't think he's got it. He's too one-dimensional for me for this league, to be honest.
I mean, there's no old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, this is broke, and it needs fixing.
It's smashed on the floor.
This is 1,000 bits on the floor, and it needs fixing. He's got to do something, and like I say, I'm glad I'm not chose to go back to London, fly into London to watch the game. Katie, you going on Thursday?
I'm not. No, I mean it's midweek away anyway, but also West Ham is up there with my least favourite ground. It's terrible. It's a
school night. You're not going.
It's a school night. It's also an athletic stadium. It's not a football stadium. I feel like I'm at England away in Estonia or something when I go there.
That will probably help Ruud a little bit because he's so far away from the fans. there can't be much
it's a
interaction.
terrible atmosphere as well, because the concourse, how the fans are split, because there's a big walkway in the middle. Because it's an athletics track and it's a port, they'll charge you through the nose for stuff. And yeah, it's not. I don't like going to that ground anyway. I probably would have gone if it was a Saturday, but yeah, I'll try and catch it somewhere. Who knows? The most Leicester thing will be that we'll win 1-0 or something, but I can't see it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to say it could be the most Leicester thing ever. We'll go there and we win. I mean, we did it a few years ago. Remember when Brendan Rodgers made, I think it was 11 changes and we beat them 10. I'm going to say 10-1 there. Beat them 2-1 with the 11 changes. No one expected it. But it could be the most. Were you there, Ruud, that one?
I think Demarai Gray scored one.
Demarai Gray and Nacho scored, I think, and we won 2-1.
But I will say that after Friday night, I don't know if you felt the same, Rudy, but there was an embarrassment in the players, which hasn't been there before. So that was different on Friday. It was different, like the Everton game. I think it felt different. It felt like flipping it. Hang your heads, guys. Hang your heads again. And there was an embarrassment that they should be feeling about that performance. A real embarrassment again.
I mean, I've never felt like this, that I don't particularly want to wear my Leicester shirt anymore around Alcudia. I feel a little bit embarrassed about wearing it. I mean, I used to wear a shirt every time I came on here, but now at the minute, I don't feel like wearing it, or something to do with Leicester wearing. I just don't feel like wearing it. I feel a bit ashamed of wearing it. I don't know why I shouldn't be, but I just feel, I don't
want an emotional thing. You can't even look at it at the minute.
Oh, I know. I've got them out behind my ear, but I'm not. It's awful. It's awful. Rightio, I think we're going to leave it there because we're not going to talk about the West Ham game too much. Give Phil something to do tomorrow night. Kate, it's been much appreciated. Enjoy yourself Thursday night, sitting at home with your slippers and watching it on the TV. Right then, Kate. Thanks a lot, pal.
Cheers.
We'll see you again soon. Cheers, Kate. Thank you. No, Ben, I'm not jumping in the pool. It's too bloody cold and it's not there, to be honest.
I think you need to, mate.
I haven't done that for ages. I'm not doing that anymore. But Rudy, much appreciated once again. It's actually been fantastic you joining me on a Sunday morning. And by the way, Phil said, make sure you make your bed properly for next week.
My bed's made.
All right then, Rudy, we shall see you later, pal. Be good.
Yeah,
there we go. Cheers all. Thanks a lot for joining me once again. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for turning up on a Sunday morning to watch me, Rudy, and my guest, Kate, today. Been absolutely brilliant. We'll get her on again very soon. But a little bit of homework for you. Please, once again, whatever platform you're watching it, please like and share, whether you're watching it on YouTube, whether you're watching it on Twitter, whether you're watching it on Facebook, even on LinkedIn if you're watching it. Please like and share. Much, much appreciated for you lot turning up and watching me waffle on week in, week out. So it's ciao, ciao, adios, goodbye. Todd's vein. There goes the final whistle. Come on, you foxes.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.